Welcome back, it's Nine, and today we are going to be talking about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. This video is going to be just dedicated to this massive update that we got about the game. And this comes from Games Radar interview with the developers over at Insomniac. Now, before we get into that, if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos, and hit the like button. It helps the channel a ton. Now, let's get right into this. And it's titled Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart will be the first must-have PS5 exclusive of 2021. So there's a lot in this article. It's a huge interview that they had with them, and there's a lot of details in there that I want to go over and tell you guys all about, because there's so much important information in here in regards to the PS5. So if that is something that interests you, you're going to want to stick around for the whole video. So let's start off with what the game's about. The premise that our longtime heroes are confronted by an evil arch nemesis who wields a dimensional tunneling device known as the Dimensionator. As often happens in this type of scenario, this damages the fabric of space-time, and our heroes will need to use an evolving arsenal of creative firepower to try to save the universe, says Marcus Smith, creative director at Insomniac. We don't want to give away too much, but players' jaws will hit the floor when they discover the butler did it. Shoot, I said too much. So obviously he wanted to let us know about that. That's not a huge spoiler, but it's interesting to hear just what this game is about. As you know, we've seen a lot of footage of it, but not really anyone talk about what the premise is. So there it is. That's our first look at what the premise is. Now, they're saying that this is going to be the game that makes you want to go out and get a PS5. This is going to be the first exclusive that shows us what the PS5 is capable of when it comes to DualSense, when it comes to the console itself. So we'll go more into that as we continue with this article. Since Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was built from the ground up for PS5, we have access to the broadest palette of techniques and the highest fidelity we've ever had for developing weaponry, says game director Mike Daly. You can look forward to some new developments that make weapon impact feel absolutely amazing. Custom adaptive triggers for each weapon that add new functions to the pull of the trigger itself, advanced VFX that take visual spectacle over the top, haptics to give every impact unique, and physical sensations that further allow weapons to express their personality, and our signature creativity for exotic and unexpected weapon concepts is in full force. The weapon experience is shaping up to be incredible, and they really harp on how this experience is something that not only can only be had on the PS5 due to its SSD and the technical capabilities, but also that the DualSense is required to really take full advantage of the experience. So he goes on to talk more about the weapons, and he says the weapons are always at the forefront of the Ratchet experience, and the DualSense gives us powerful new tools to take each weapon's unique personality even further, says Daly. We combine haptics with the controller speaker to make the physical aspects of firing a weapon feel distinctly textured and believable. The expressiveness of the controller is very valuable here, as our weapons all look and feel very different from one another, so it wouldn't be nearly as convincing if all of them had a similar basic rumble. And I completely agree with that, as the whole point of all these features in the DualSense is to make each weapon feel different and give us a different experience, as if we are carrying a different gun or we are firing a different gun. He goes on to say that the studio is building upon this experience as it engineers the weapons for Rift Apart. The adaptive triggers not only give us another channel for weapons to feel unique, but in some cases, they enable extra functionality. Partially pulling the trigger or feathering it gives us a way to add nuance to weapon functions that just weren't possible before, as the trigger itself couldn't give feedback. Our burst pistol, for example, can be fired accurately by pulling the trigger up to a middle threshold, or you can pull through to go all the way out at the cost of accuracy. It's much more intuitive to have this secondary function directly on the trigger than have players learn different buttons for it. It's that much easier for you to get into the flow of combat and execute advanced strategies without having to think of the controls. So it's just ways to work around the DualSense and think more innovatively, not just use the same thought process and creative process as we did with previous controllers and previous consoles, as this is a whole new experience, not just with the controller, but with the hardware inside the console as well. So he goes on to talk about the abilities. He says new abilities expand how Ratchet can traverse the dimensions using rift tethers and combine with a suite of tried and true returning moves to create a moveset that feels empowering and expressive. He says of your ability to whip across combat spaces in an instant through dimensional portals that litter the combat spaces, Ratchet's core movement is faster and more responsive with faster and smoother transitions from move to move, making Ratchet feel more agile than ever. Our traversal move set enables us to create traversal challenges that have you mix moves together in a satisfying chain and lets players be more creative with how they move around the battlefield to outmaneuver enemies. So due to the SSD, this allows them to change the way the gameplay feels completely, and not just with, going into different dimensions, but also with the way that Ratchet moves, how quickly he can move. It's going to change the way the games play, as they've said before, with the new SSD, and this is just more reasons why you can't play this on a PS4, right? And it makes sense that this game was built around the hardware specs of the PS5. So he goes on to say Rift Apart is being built as a celebration of the Ratchet and Clank games that have come before it, but it's also a glimpse into Insomniac's future following its acquisition by Sony Interactive Entertainment. Smith says that the studio is trying to cater to more players than ever before, noting if you've never played a Ratchet and Clank game before, this is an excellent one to start with, as the adventure is a standalone storyline. Still, longtime fans of the series will find deeper layers of connection to previous games. So this is just telling us that, hey, you didn't have to play all the other Ratchet games to really appreciate this game. But if you are somebody who has played them all, you will have a better understanding of certain connections in the game, which is great, right? So that kind of allows new people to jump in, and it also allows fans of this series for a long time to appreciate it at a deeper level. So it's all good news. So there's this one last statement made by Insomniac, and they say, Insomniac is so out of control that several of our designers are wanted across several star clusters, laughs Smith. It has been an incredibly rewarding process of learning to shed outdated best practice that has been in place due to the constraints of loading times. While so often new hardware feels like an upgrade to visuals alone, working on the PS5 has been a paradigm shift in the way we do all things, from the near instant level loading to 3D audio design, and yes, an enormous leap in visuals. It's exciting to think that we're still so early in the life cycle and everyone is just scratching the surface of what can be done. So excited to know it's only going to get crazier. So this is more of what we already know, right? We know that at the start of these consoles, they aren't taking full advantage of everything that they can offer is not there. But this is even more so the case because we are finally just working with SSDs, which is the biggest difference by far with these consoles, which will allow, game development to change drastically. And this is coming from game devs' mouths. These are people who are well renowned in the industry and have proved themselves across multiple games, the Ratchet series, Sunset Overdrive, Resistance, Spider-Man. There are so many games that they've created and worlds they've created, and they've proved that they are able to create amazing experiences regardless of the limits of the hardware. And now with a console like the PS5 where loading times isn't a thing, they got 3D audio, they got this DualSense controller, they have the support of Sony. They are going to be able to make the greatest project they are capable of at the time that they're creating it. So it's really exciting, and this is the huge update from Insomniac in regards to Ratchet and Clank: A Rift Apart, which is actually my most anticipated game. I'm very excited to see just what they bring to the table. This is an exciting time, as this is going to be the first big exclusive, and I think they're kind of hinting at this will release before every other first-party exclusive that we've heard about. This is going to be the first PS5 exclusive that we are going to see that's strictly PS5, which makes sense, I guess, with Horizon coming in, it'll be cross-gen. It does make sense, but I'm really excited to see just what they can do. It is an exciting time to be a gamer, a PlayStation fan, and if you love Ratchet and Clank, well, it doesn't get any better than that. So I'd love to pass this on to you guys and ask you, what do you think of all this news, this big update that we got? Are you excited for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? What are your expectations? And will you be buying this game when it does drop or when you do get a PS5? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you haven't subscribed already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell to get notified about all my upcoming videos, and hit the like button. It helps the channel a ton. You can follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Links will be in the description. And share this video with a friend. I will talk to you all on the next one. Take care.